till the 3.
You guys ready?
And so,
Call this meeting to order.
Venus.
Here.
Danford.
Here.
Gerard.
Here.
Crossman.
here.
Cornwell.
Here.
And Elmore.
Yes.
Okay, the approval of previous regular meeting minutes.
I'd like a motion to accept the meeting minutes from December's meeting as presented.
I'll second that.
Crossman.
Yes.
Gerard.
Yes.
Danford.
Yes.
Cornwell.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
And Venus.
Yes.
Okay, approval of expenditures.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
I'll second that motion.
Cornwell.
Yes.
Elmore.
Yes.
Venus.
Yep.
Danford.
Yes.
Gerard.
Yes.
And Crossman.
Yes.
I have no comments or announcements other than if you want to talk about Rob's dad's presentation.
I can just announce it. I mean,
You can do it now.
or I can do it
Yeah.
then. Most of you know that our police chief, Rob Gross, his father died. You may have heard on TV, there was an accident on 57, and the man from Savoy was Rob's dad, and they did an autopsy this morning, and so I don't know what that showed yet, but visitation is from 4 to 6 on Thursday night at the Lux Funeral, Lux Chapel in Rantoul, and the funeral is at 10 a.m. on Friday, so if anyone wants to go.
Public comments?
Well, I have a comment and a question, I guess. I recently asked for some information, and I was denied access by one committee chairperson, and the other one said that they needed more information. So, for the record, does that still stand, Doris?
Pardon me?
Does that still stand, that I can't get that information?
I hadn't talked to anybody, I didn't know why you wanted it, that was
Doesn't make
clear
any
back in
difference.
August.
Doesn't make any difference why I want it. And your email back said absolutely not.
Well, I
So-
don't think it's necessary.
You don't have the authority to deny that. According to our ordinances 8.108, all records kept by any officers of the village shall be open to inspection by the president, mayor, or any member of the village board at all reasonable times, whether or not such records are required to be kept by statute or ordinance.
Well, you
You
guys have
cannot
your
withhold
things all
any
down pat.
records.
Okay, go for it.
That's why we're having an executive meeting tonight.
It doesn't fall under the executive meeting, because this is public.
Violation of such ordinance can result in a fine of $1 up to $500 according to the ordinance per occurrence.
Well, I've talked
Were you
to the
familiar with that?
I've talked to the attorney, so I'm going by what we're saying. I told him. That's why we're having executive tonight.
What did the attorney say about it?
It was up to my discretion,
To release it?
yes. Or you can file a FOIA for it.
We don't have to file a FOIA. By our ordinance, no trustee has to file a FOIA.
I've got them printed out. You can see them. I don't care. It's just why? Why is this drama? It's like we keep bringing up drama
There's
constantly.
no drama, Chris. You just wanted it for some research.
It
You'll
doesn't
get it.
matter
You'll
why
get
it's
it.
unneeded.
Well,
Doesn't matter.
Did you guys happen to cite this when you asked for it by chance, or did you?
Shouldn't have to.
Go ahead and wait 4 days?
All of us should be very familiar with the ordinances. Have you all read them?
Most definitely.
So you
I have
should
not
be
read
familiar.
I have not read all of it.
the entire
I haven't read them word for word.
I've read it cover to cover.
I have
Good for you.
That's our duty as elected officials, to be familiar with the ordinances that are in place for the village.
Can I
Any
talk
public
now?
comment?
Yeah, thanks. I'm John Kraft. First of all, as a compliment, I enjoyed seeing these chairs here tonight. Looked like somebody was former military that placed them in nice straight lines and nice straight rows. It's been a while since I've seen that. They're usually
Speak up a little bit, so?
they're usually metal chairs, all crushed together. We don't have any elbow room.
We don't get everything we want, but we try to take care of what we got.
So, the other issue I want to talk about is public officials' access to information. And we see this quite often. There's an issue down in Jasper County right now with a school board member. With public officials' access to information, regardless of whether it's in your ordinance or not, even if it's completely out of your ordinance. There's an appellate court case, Ebert versus Thompson. I'll give you this Attorney General opinion that you can look at. It says public officials are generally not required to file FOIAs to obtain records needed in the performance of his or her duties. And part of a public official's duties is to audit time cards, audit financials. You don't have to be an auditor to audit anything. Am I talking loud enough?
Yes, sir.
Sometimes
Well,
at
least for me, you are.
Sometimes I talk too loud and then people get upset because I talk too loud. So, but the issue is, you know, in Ebert versus Thompson, I read the transcripts of that case, and what it was the judge saw through what was going on, and he realized it was a political question, that one party didn't like the other party, so they would deny information to the other party because they didn't like them because of their political stance, or whatever the issue was. And the judge determined that, you know, it's not, even if the public official wanted information that the board didn't think should be public information, the board had no authority to prevent that public official from getting that information, even if they knew he was going to release that information to the public. The judge stated that it's up to the public to determine whether that public official should have released that information or not, and the tool to do that is at the next election. So, I will give this to you. You can Google Ebert versus Thompson if you want the transcripts. I can actually, if I can borrow a pen, I'll write my email address down here. If you want the transcripts to that case, I can email them to you. And you can read all about it. It's pretty eye-opening when you read it and when you read about what they were arguing about. They were arguing about getting copies of names of people receiving public aid. And even with public aid information, the judge said it's up to the voters to decide whether somebody should have the information and not the other public officials. Thanks.
Thank you. My name is Kirk Allen. Just to clarify, John and I are with the Edgar County Watchdogs. We also operate American Watchdogs. We're a 501c3 and a 501c4 nonprofit local government accountability organization. And part of what we do is emphasize the importance of the people's right to information, the people's right to address their public bodies. I appreciate you having public comment. A lot of places we go to still today say you can't talk. So I appreciate the fact that you let folks talk. You had mentioned that you're going to go into executive session tonight. If it's in regards to the release of public records, that's not an exemption that is going to qualify into that. The other suggestion that I would have, I always live by says who with what proof. Have anybody ever been told something you find out after the fact it's not true? Most of us have. One thing I found with local governments and attorneys that are all billable hours, I hope there's no attorneys in here. If I'm stepping on toes, I'm sorry. But more often than not, they tell us something, but they never put it in writing. And that's where we see so many public bodies get in trouble, because what they said may or may not be exactly what we heard. And then we apply what we think they said, and then we find out, oh no, that's not right. So I would encourage you to get in writing what these attorneys are telling you, because I can't tell you how many, literally hundreds of times we've proven attorneys wrong based on what they've said. And a lot of times they don't mind if you violate an Open Meetings Act situation, because when they get to address it with the Attorney General or in a court case, it's billable hours. And they're like, well, that's not exactly what I said. You should have done this, you should have done that. Next thing you know, you've got legal bills racking up because the advice that started the process wasn't accurate. But I would really discourage going into an executive session to discuss whether or not you can release records, because that's not a qualified exemption to go into executive session. That's all I have. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Oh, come on.
Okay, yes, I do have a question.
I'm joking.
Aaron Farrar, taxpaying citizen of Atwood for 8 years now, but I would like to know why from Village President Stoltz over to Trustee Venus, that there seems like a lack of transparency to that side of the board. This is the second meeting I've sat in on, and it just seems like there's somebody trying to hide something from this side. Just seems like there's not enough transparency, and in government, especially in these days, I feel like there should be a lot more transparency, and that it's something that is extremely important to have. And we're just a little town, you know, we're not Chicago. We shouldn't act like Chicago. I feel like that's what we're verging into, is acting like Chicago. So that's my question. I would like to know why there's not more transparency.
I would just like to speak, since I was thrown into this side of the bar. I'm really not sure what you're referring to as far as me. I don't know that I've ever tried to keep anything from the other side of the bar, the other side of the table, or this side of the table.
I think some of it, because obviously I do talk to my wife about board business, and I think a lot of that is stemming from you two, and then Dave recommended that Nancy call you two to find out about releasing that information.
When you say you two, who are you talking
Me and Doris.
Doris and Chris.
What about it?
I didn't
About releasing that information, you know, that's, you know, if you want to read my notepad of all the notes that I keep in the meeting, go right ahead. You know, I'm an open book. You have access to any information whatsoever. If any of the paying public want to read it, they want access to any information I have, go right ahead. I am an employee of the Village of Atwood, an elected member. You know, I report to all of the voting public, so they can. I'm an open book, but you're acting like you're hiding something by saying no. So I think that's what she's saying. You know, is why would you?
I'm not hiding anything.
Well, it's the image that you are when you deny access to any information that a public official requests.
That's the first time I was ever asked for anything like that.
And the first time you denied it. So what are you hiding?
If it's the first time I've asked, it's the first time I denied it, I guess. I just didn't understand, why is it necessary to go back clear in August when it's...
Why is it your right to ask that question?
Well, why is it your right to ask?
Right here.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And the state law.
Okay, you have access to getting it and whatever else you guys want.
But why does it take you seeing the ordinance and the state law to say, yeah, you have access to it? Me, I don't even have to look at
The
that.
gentleman back here just said trust but verify. I'm paraphrasing, but trust but verify. So why would we just all of a sudden say absolutely do whatever you want when we don't know specifically the rules?
Yeah,
We all admitted that we've not sat and read the ordinance book cover to cover. And
Well, you should.
That's
You
great.
really should. It took me about 6 hours to read through that but I'd highly recommend it so you familiarize yourself with the laws that govern our village. So I'd recommend it.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Do they refer you as president or mayor here in Atwood?
Either.
Okay,
President.
in regards to what you just referenced, has everybody complied with their Freedom of Information Act training?
Yes, we have.
Because in the FOIA training, it outlines real clearly what is or isn't subject to FOIA and what the obligations are. I don't know what your ordinance says, but the FOIA training, if you've taken that, it's a no-brainer on transparency. That's all I had. Thank you.
Anything else?
I don't know if I want to bring this up right now or not, but I represent Sloan Implement. And we're planning on adding on out there onto the shop. We run out of room. The building is going to be, that we're adding on is about 80 by 120. It's going to cost between $450,000 and $500,000. And I have a breakdown here I'll give to the board of the expenses on different phases of the building. And there's 5 copies there.
Okay.
And
Sir, what's your name?
my name is Butch Harper.
Oh, Butch Harper.
My real name is John, but everybody calls me Butch.
Okay, Butch.
And we're interested in this is a TIF district out there, and we're interested in if they have any money that they want to help us out on the concrete part of the construction. And that's $123,000.
Yeah, currently the TIF district does have a balance of approximately $20,000. The business district has significantly more, and it is at $591,000. However, $288,000 of that is a loan, and all that money's been earmarked for the repavement of Main Street this coming summer. So we could look at providing a little bit of assistance on the concrete, but we won't come anywhere. We won't come anywhere close to being able to. Okay. And we'll discuss it, and I'll either have Roy contact you, or we'll bring it at the next board meeting.
Okay. Anything else? Water, sewer?
Okay, the Water Sewer Committee met Tuesday, January 9th at 4 with committee members Dave Venus, Doris Elmore, and myself present, along with Water Superintendent Jeff Mercer and Don Quartz. The work on well 2 has not been completed, but we are still anticipating a January start with a completion date. Our Water Sewer Department has been kept busy during this sub-zero weather with frozen and broken taps and water lines. Water Superintendent Mercer will be attending the Illinois Rural Water Assessment Conference in February. And the only other thing, following up with our discussion from last month's meeting, there is a motion on the agenda for revising our water sewer connection fees that we'll be getting to later.
Okay.
That was it.
Thank you. Finance, personnel, cable TV.
Our committee met on January 9th, all members present. The budget numbers are looking good. We're 8 months in, so we're shooting for 66.7%. General corporate revenue is at 71.8% of expected, and expenses are at 61% of expected. Water and sewer revenue is at 65.4%, and expenses are at 71.7%. Again, the expenses number is skewed slightly higher because we spent a majority of our capital dollars for improvements at the beginning of the year. The TIF district revenue has been a pleasant surprise. Based on last year's increase or revenue of approximately $5,000, that's what we expected this year, and so far we've received 16,500. So that's been nice. So overall, all things combined, village revenue is at 65.6% of expected, and expenses are at 59.7%. So we're sitting pretty good. We discussed the village's health insurance reimbursement program, and we will talk about that later. We also discussed the compensation of the village's building inspector, which we will also discuss later.
Okay. Police, health and safety.
The police committee met on Tuesday, January 9th at 4 with members Nancy Crossman, David Venus, and myself present, with Police Chief Rob Brose, Jeff Mercer, and Don Courts. Regarding the seizure of cars that was discussed at the last meeting, you guys asked if I would have Rob do some more checking on that, those prices. Chief Brose spoke with Hammer Towing, and he stated that he charges $50 each time he hooks up a car, $4 a mile, $35 a day for storage. For a vehicle seizure, we have to hold on to it for the 15-day period that the owner has to appeal it. It usually takes another 2 weeks or so to get a junk title. 30 days at $35 is $1,050 for storage, not including the towing fee. If it's a decent vehicle, we can attempt to sell it, but rarely do we get a decent vehicle. The recent payment of the administrative fee was for the first time in at least a couple years that Rob could remember. Most of the time, no one pays or picks it up, and it goes to the junkyard for $150. Rob, this is Rob's feelings, since you asked him to do this. Rob feels it is not in the village's best interest to attempt to get $150 by spending over $1,000. We also cannot accept the liability of storing it on our own property because we don't have any place to secure to hold it, and any damage to it would be held against the village. And this will be discussed in new business. Chief Brose and other employees talked about the health insurance, and David has that. And then Chief Brose said they recently went to a trailer, and I believe this is the one out there to the east, where the resident did not have heat. She was unable to contact the property manager or the trailer park owner. He feels this is a high priority. We definitely need to look into getting the attorney involved and proceeding immediately with getting the situation solved. Rob stated the song and dance "We Are Trying to Fix It" is old. It's been a year and it's been getting worse. And they have one person they've been trying to evict for a year. So we really need to get on that and do something about this situation. So that's all I have.
Okay. Street zoning mosquito. I wasn't able to make the meeting because I had a death in the family. I did talk to Donnie. Darren has been off sick, but did return to work today, I think. Is that right? Donnie has fixed the lights in the police station, still has a light to repair or to replace. He gave me a map of the roads that were salted. Also, he had, when it was snowing, he had Jeff Mercer, he helped clean and open the streets up. And then in his spare time, he's been working on equipment. And that was it. Civic improvement, tourism, and special projects.
We met January 8th at 5 o'clock, Mike Purdy and myself present. I have nothing to report.
Okay, buildings, insurance, park, property.
Met at the same time as civic improvement, same individuals present, nothing to report.
I did have the lady that has Abbott Armory. She wants to have a tournament March 31st out at the park. And she said, I had your email, but I don't have your phone, so she can call you. So I'm going to give her your email, if that's all right.
Yeah, email's fine, or Nancy can provide phone number.
Yeah, because she wants, we'll have to have it set up to the gates opened, and she wants the bigger diamond. So I'm not sure which one's the bigger one, but
okay.
It's a tournament. Okay. Old business. Down item of the new business, discussion and motion to amend the seizure fee for ordinance 22.030B.
Okay, I just read you what Rob's feelings were on this, and we had brought up last meeting to lower the seizure fee from $500 to $200. Does anybody have any question about all this? I appreciated him getting all this together. I think it's going to cost us a heck of a lot more. He just thinks that there'll be more picked up if they just pay $200 instead of $500, and we're not making anything as far as with hammer towing, so that's up to whatever you guys want to do.
So when they're not picked up, the village is on the hook for the little over $1,100 fee to hammer towing.
No.
No.
No, that's, I don't.
Basically, Hammer eats that.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the
So
After the 30 days, if the car is not claimed, Hammer can then apply for that junk title and then sell it or do whatever he does with it.
I think, if I understood correctly, Hammer actually gets his first, right, before we get ours?
No, we get ours first.
We get
Oh, we
ours
get
first.
ours
So if
first.
they pay anything, we get our fee, and then
We just
Hammer's out
got
and
Because
we
Hammer has to
$500
get a
the other day,
document
which is
from
the
us
first
saying
time in a
that
long
they
time
paid
we've got
their
money.
Yeah. So,
procedure fees.
okay, I got it backwards in. So,
we may get more $200 than we will $500, because
Yes.
we're not getting anything now in particular once in 2 years.
because the problem being.
why are we not getting anything if we're paid first?
Because they don't pay anything at all if the fee
They
is
just never get their
insurmountable.
car back.
If if they let it in storage for any length of time, then all of a sudden, instead of looking at what, they're looking at
Right,
between
but,
$500 and $1,000, so.
but if Hammer Towing has to pay us first,
No, Hammer
No.
doesn't, the person who has it, so if they tow your car, you have to pay us first and then pay Hammer his fees.
but then if that vehicle's not claimed, the sale of that vehicle, the proceeds of it go to the law enforcement agency.
Hammer.
Hammer.
According to state law, it's to the law enforcement agency that gets the proceeds. And then it would be paid to Hammer, any fees over and above.
That's state law.
625 ILCS 5. Section 3.
In the 2.5 years I've been here, I've collected $500 for a seized vehicle tax.
I'm just wondering if the process is broken and not the policy.
But you don't know whether there was any fees paid other than what we collected.
No, I do not.
We don't know whether Hammer,
Well,
at the end, sold the
I know
car.
this last one, this young lady came in and paid her $500 and then called Hammers to find out how much she owed him and where he was located to go pick up her vehicle.
And the other thing we don't know is if at the end Hammer does sell, he does have to get a title. So I don't know how much that is.
He makes money.
Hammer makes money off of that. And you know, I don't know. how
No,
much
I just know
I don't know how
certain
much a title,
cases, yeah.
how much a title
It's
for a damage or.
He's still
something.
coming out ahead.
So let's talk to Rob about making sure that we follow that state law and get the money first.
So do we have anything in our ordinance?
Yeah, it's in our ordinance that it will follow the state code. So I'm just wondering if maybe the process is broken, maybe
Sounds
there's
like
a
it.
breakdown, so.
Well, I'll have Rob look into the process.
So are we tabling for now?
Yes. Discussion and possible motion to increase the non-sufficient fund charge to $25 for return checks.
Yeah, currently it's $15, $25 is a common fee everywhere else, so we're just trying to come up, Nancy asked me to consider it, so I think it's fair.
Is this just water bills or are there other things too?
It's just been water bill
Just been
payments.
water bills?
Do we have several?
I had 6 in the last few weeks.
What's our fee from the bank?
I do not have a response to that.
No.
I don't know.
I'm just wondering if the $25 is gonna cover it, because I know some banks charge you
I don't know.
more.
I don't know what they charge our account, or if it is anything.
As a business, we're not charged.
I'm wondering if that's in fact the case.
Yeah, we just, it's not there.
But it takes time to write the letter
Right.
and then
Oh, yeah.
collect and I'm still trying to collect on 3 of them.
Any other questions?
Is that about the norm? Yeah, I mean, do you have that many every month?
Not usually.
I'll make a motion to increase the not sufficient funds charge from $15 to $25.
I'll second.
I just wanted
He was louder.
Ferrara,
Yes.
Crossman,
Yes.
Elmore,
Yes.
Venus,
Yes.
Danford,
Yes.
and Cornwall.
Yes.
Okay, discussion and motion to amend ordinance 11.104B, water sewer service connection fees.
Okay, part of the handouts tonight, this is exactly what I brought to the board last month. It's just been put in ordinance form by the attorney. And basically what the change is to change from what we had, $400 per hookup for, 400 for sewer, 400 for water, and was pretty vague as to what the homeowner or the person asking for the hookup had to pay. So this just clarifies we're going to charge $100 per hookup for each, and then it's pretty extensive as to the person requesting the hookup. In the case of water, will be responsible for everything but a standard meter that the village will provide, and in the case of sewer, they'll be responsible for all material and labor. And then we also added some language as to what expectations there are for the material that's being used. And like I said, this is exactly what I brought last month, it's just now in ordinance format. Anybody have any questions? Then I make a motion that we adopt the change to ordinance number 18-0- am I looking at the right one? Yeah, 18-0-
Also 11.
yeah, that's what threw me, hold on a minute. I guess this is the ordinance number, but the change is to this section number.
Yeah,
Is that what's
I
confusing?
just said it's right here.
So it's ordinance number 18-0-1 that we have in front of us, and it changes section 11.104B water connection, water and sewer connection fees. Did you get that, Nancy?
I did.
I'll second.
It's a long way around it.
Yeah.
Whatever she said.
Okay.
That's not the
Danford,
Yes.
Cornwall,
Yes.
Elmore,
Yes.
Ferrara,
Yes.
Crossman,
Yes.
and Venus.
Yes.
Although, on that, just before we move on, I'm wondering if on the agenda, it doesn't say the ordinance, the correct ordinance number,
Yeah, I realize
so that might be a FOIA issue.
We should change the ordinance, it's the section, what
This
we have
should be
in
the
the,
section 11,
yeah,
like
Not
104B, not ordinance.
yes. Thank you, Brody, that's what was confusing me when I was trying to make the motion.
I don't know if we can make a motion on
I
that
don't think
for this
we can.
month. I think we'll need to table it for next month.
To change, to get that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I can table that one then.
Yeah. Okay. discussion and possible motion to amend the personnel policy, health insurance reimbursement program.
Okay, so the last couple of committee meetings, the employees that come to me, and at the committee meeting, we've discussed the health insurance reimbursement program. Currently, it's set at a maximum of $350 per month per employee, per qualifying employees. The only change to the personnel policy under this program, the health insurance program, is changing the reimbursement amount, the maximum amount, from $350 to $489.61. Here's where I came up with my proposal or my numbers, using data that I gathered from census.gov, irs.gov, healthcare.gov, and Paycheck City. I looked to see how much health insurance normally was for families that applied on the healthcare.gov exchange. You end up in the same place whether you use Get Covered Illinois Healthcare Exchange, or healthcare.gov. It all takes you to healthcare.gov. It asks you for family size and annual income. So I use census.gov to find the average U.S. family size, which is just a hair over 3.1. So I factored in a 35-year-old male, a 35-year-old female, and an 8-year-old male. Then I needed some form of income. I used census.gov and IRS sightings for an income, a family household income in the Midwest classification, which was approximately 17,521,000 families. The median, and it wasn't the average, I apologize, it was the median income, was $75,275. So using $75,275 as the income for this family, healthcare.gov states that this family is eligible for $812 a month in credits. So applying that $812 a month in credits to the top five, or the five most expensive health insurance plans, and then averaging those health insurance plans to kind of get an understanding of what would be, I guess, considered a normal or somewhat average of the best plans offered. I came up with an average of $761. These five plans ranged anywhere from a $2,000 individual deductible or a $4,000 family deductible up to the $14,700 maximum out of pocket that is set by law. They had co-insurance of 90% covered once you meet the deductible. There was also a plan in there that was an HSA qualifying account. So therefore you paid everything up to the $14,700, but they also gave you the option to put up to the $6,900 in your HSA. There was also two plans in there that were a 70-30 plan, where you would pay up to the deductible, and then after the deductible you would pay 30% up until your maximum out of the pocket of $14,700. So looking at a number of $761 as an average monthly premium, we talked about at the last committee meeting that a 50-50 split between the employee and the employer as far as health insurance costs would seem reasonable. And so half of, the village's half would be $380.66. Because it is a benefit provided to the employees, it must be taxed. And so we would like to increase the benefit in order to offset the taxes that are charged. And so using that same income, median income of $75,275, using a paycheck calculator adjusted for the new tax laws, Illinois state rate at 4.95 and FICA at 7.65. The withheld amount, withheld tax would be 22.251743.6%. And so the reimbursement amount would be adjusted to $489.61 in order to effectively cover the taxes and half of what we would consider an average health insurance premium.
How much is it now?
$350. So it would go from $350 to $489.60. And the $350's been in place for a couple years. So it was time to readjust. And as I said, the employees came to me and said, our rates have gone up a lot, you know, can we look at it? And so I told them I'd do research, and this is what I come back with.
Under typical health insurance cost shares, like my insurance at work, the employer picks up typically 50% or sometimes a little more for the employee, but then that percentage starts to drop off once the family is put on the plan. So typically it might be 50-50 for the employee and the employer, and then when it comes to employee and family, it might be 70-30, let's say. It's typically not a down the middle situation.
Well, and it's hard for me to come up with typical, because in using your example, my employer for my family is 75-25. The employer covers 75%. So it's like, well, that's probably not normal. I don't know if it is. So I felt like a 50-50 split was probably something that was more in line with the average.
I think myself, I'd be more comfortable resting on $400 a month. That's just my own opinion. I think the village's expenditures have been pretty high over the last year, and for us to commit to an extra ballpark $1,700 per employee per year, I'm cautious about spending, committing to that much additional money per year.
Okay. Well, I would like to table my motion, or not make it, I guess, at this time. We'll discuss it later.
Okay, discussion of possible motion to amend the personnel policy, mileage and meals reimbursement.
I looked up the IRS guidelines for mileage reimbursement. Currently in the policy, or in our personnel policy, it is, I believe, 57 cents per mile. The new 2018 rates are 54.5 cents per mile. Also, the IRS recommends the GSA.gov guidelines for daily meals and incidentals reimbursement. Currently, it's at $56.83 per day, and the new recommendations are $51 per day for the Illinois area, not in Cook County. So, using GSA's recommendations, it would be $51 per day.
On the mileage, that changes yearly. Wouldn't it be easier just to say,
Just to change.
pay the IRS rate for that year versus making a motion each year, or just we'll pay the going rate that the IRS states? Because I thought it was 53 cents this year, but I could be wrong.
Oh, it's 55.
I looked up Saturday, so it
Yeah.
could have changed between Saturday and today.
Well, it's a new year.
Okay.
That would just be my recommendation, just put IRS going rate, and then we're not having to approve it year to year, it's just the going rate.
Well, and it's still just a guideline. I don't know that we'd have to prove it. If we wanted to get more, we could.
Yeah. I think
Well, the federal and the state are the same, right?
anything over and above IRS
Right, I
rate
was
is
just-
taxable, because then it's a benefit. So you'd have to,
But would it be federal rate or state rate?
I was gonna say, they're not the same.
They went up.
I know that, but they used to not, they used to never be. I don't know.
Well, I'll go ahead and table it for now, we'll talk about it later.
Okay, discussion of possible motion of building inspector compensation.
Yeah, so we discussed that the building inspector is currently paid $200 a year, and then a portion of the proceeds of the permit fees when a building permit is issued. Recently, the building inspector has been doing quite a bit of extra work trying to track down tracks, making trips to Monticello, and he's not compensated for his mileage under the current setup. So doing some research, I found the Bureau of Labor Statistics.gov, occupation code 47-4011, construction and building inspectors. The median hourly rate in the most, in 2016, it was the most recent comprehensive occupation study that they did of over 800 jobs. The median wage was $28.12. Doing a cost of living area adjustment of 0.87. That would adjust that down to $24.46. And because it was a 2016 number, the rate of inflation over the last year was right at 2%. So factoring in a 2% cost of inflation or cost of living increase would make it $24.95. I would, as a committee, we would prefer to see the building inspector compensated as basically a non-scheduled part-time employee. If he would fill out a timesheet, he would report to the mayor or whoever the board decided he report to, and he would fill out a timesheet and turn in his mileage receipts and be compensated like an employee would be.
I'm concerned that the cost per year would go from $200 to, how many hours would you say that you spend a month or a year?
It's been unusual the last month, but it's been 10 or 12 hours.
So in a month, you'd
But
be,
that's
so
not gonna be that way every month.
theoretically though, our costs could go up 9 times the current cost plus mileage.
Okay, I'd like to table this and talk about that.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
You want to second the motion?
I'll second the motion to adjourn.
And we're done, folks.